Alright, so here's me working to see if I can get a little bit of upgrades on my Gun Show Beretta 92. One of the cool things here is I've got the Langdon Tactical connector bar, the Volker Precision trigger, and a set of Wilson Combat super thin grips. The nice thing about those super thin grips is that they are really good at helping make the grip angle and the grip ergonomics quite a bit better on this Beretta 92. So here you can see where instead of just regular research, I'm going online and watching how to take this gun apart. I don't want to just sit there and fiddle around with the gun and lose pieces, so I want to make sure that I'm taking care of everything as necessary. And here's me losing a part and then using a pistol light to try to find it. That was actually one of the springs that was connecting the trigger return. This was also a good opportunity when I had the gun apart in small pieces to go ahead and clean everything off. Some of these pieces were super dirty, and I thought this would be an opportunity to get them all cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's also a really good idea to always make sure that you have a good video that you're watching and have a good proper set of tools. In this case, I've been preparing to move, and so all of my tools are packed away. And so I had a small screwdriver kit and some stuff that I had in my range box. However, that's all I had here. So you can see me trying desperately to get this one spring in. This is the trigger return spring. I highly recommend going to the Wolf or the Wilson Combat trigger return spring conversion that goes to a coil spring. I decided that everything inside there was just a little too dirty and I needed to go ahead and clean it some more. I have some of these Amazon stick Q-tip cleaners that is really handy, and I use these all the time. This video from Macarbo was especially useful in this case, and so I highly recommend them. They're one of the companies that I've just enjoyed, using, because they finally helped me figure out the spring orientation of this trigger return spring, which finally allowed me to get it in. That took more time than anything else in this entire situation. Once I had finally gotten everything together, it was awesome, and it was immediately apparent that the trigger was going to be great. The next thing that I had to do was to try to see if I can get the hammer spring out. Now, a lot of these old Berettas will have a pin that goes through. Unfortunately, this 1994 Beretta has a roll pin that really took a lot of effort to be hammered out. And given the amount of tools that I had, it was not easy. I ended up settling for an Allen wrench, as well as a nice pair of the high-end Harbor Freight channel lock pliers to try to get this hammered out, which I finally did. I went ahead and put in the 12-pound Wilson Combat spring just because I wanted to have the lowest. One of the things I've done here is when I put that spring back on, I put stock in the paper so that I would know not to use it again if I ever decide I want to go back to it. I felt really cocky once I had done that. I decided I wanted to oil everything back up before doing a reassembly, make sure that I have everything covered in a good coating of Wilson Combat lube. Or this might be Lucas, I'm not sure. But that being said, the trigger angle as well as the reduced power hammer spring is absolutely unbelievable. The ergonomics and the amazing feel that the Langdon trigger bar gives you is kind of unbelievable. especially when combining everything together. The trigger engagement is immediate, there's no slop or play in it, and then it is unbelievably consistent the entire way. Now what they've done is they've re-engineered some of the trigger bar geometry so that it doesn't hang up anywhere, or that it doesn't give you any of that cam effect where it's more powerful and then less powerful depending on where the trigger is. It seems pretty consistent across the board. The next thing that was obviously really important here was thinning out those grips. If you saw in my other video, those factory Beretta 92 grips are so wide. I have pretty large hands, but being able to use those, I was actually shooting really left. And then depending on my finger placement on the trigger could affect the point of impact. Now I'm going to try to show you some of the actual ergonomics and the way that the trigger and everything breaks here. I want you to see that. And I was just enjoying how nice this felt, especially with the thinner grips and the unbelievable new trigger feel. I didn't weigh the trigger, but I wanted everyone to be able to see where the trigger breaks in single and double action. One of the nice things you can see is that it's almost vertical, kind of like a 1911 in single action. And there's so little over travel once it breaks. There's a little bit of take up, very smooth and very, very slight. The double action pull is very, very easy to work with.